guys can see the header line of the drip here.
Yeah.
On and off valves for each bed. One thing that's important to mention about drip is you really got to have the soil type to use drip. In really sandy soil, drip does not work very well because the water just drops. But Erich's got a heavy silt clay soil here. It's actually pretty loamy once you get into it because they've worked organic matter into it for so long. But the drip spreads really well. My soil isn't this kind of soil and it just doesn't work for us.
Yeah.
We don't get good germination on beds.
Yeah.
What are you doing for compost?
I mean, there's a few sources. At the last farm here, we had so much organic matter because we cleared all that. We haven't had to add any like vegetable matter other than flail mowing. So it's just composted chicken manure, and that is the only, and worm castings. But
Is that your own chicken manure?
no, it's an organic product though, but it's local. Yeah, it's too hard to get somebody to go around with a shovel underneath the chickens. So.
Put it on the mobile.
Right. So we haven't added any compost here. I'm adding 500 cubic yards of compost to the new site, which is $20,000 worth of compost once it's delivered. So we're big on compost. Just we had a 3-year lease here, had a ton of organic matter, so we don't want to make that investment if not needed. So these header lines, this is the oval hose. The nice thing about these, if you have like home irrigation, drip line, and all that, these just snap in. So you have a punch tool that pokes a hole in the line and these barbs, and you just push that through, and then you tighten this. That kind of just tightens around the back of it. But since it's all low pressure, it's so easy. So that's it. We're done.
Would you say it's oval hose?
Oval hose is this product. Yep. And that's just drip tape. I think you're gonna get at least 5 years. It's not gonna break down. It's if you like run it over with your BCS or.
It's kind of designed for that, right?
It is, but if like your implement, if your harrow stabs it, I mean, you'll see different places where we had to splice it in. It starts to get it beat up that way, but I haven't had to replace it because it's worn out like from the sun.
Okay, yeah, that was my question really, like if the sun really affected.
I mean, eventually,
but they're all made for you to be UV resistant.
Yeah.
Because this is the industry standard in California.
Right.
All the big farms do this exact same thing. They just use more of a disposable type tape. But it's the same idea, it's the same header.
So, mistake I made early on, well, one, you'll see we have 3 valves on every bed, whether we need them or not. So we're doing 2 rows here, so we only have 2 drip lines in there. But remembering, like when I first started doing this and switched to the BCS, I didn't factor for the distance between the wheels of the tractor, and so I had them wider out because of where I wanted them on the bed. But then you're constantly running over these, so you want to make sure, and then there's a margin that those are within the wheel spacing, so you're not running those over. It's a little thing, and we've created a little jig that we go through and has our markings, and we can just make those holes quickly.
Yeah, and you can see, these little mending pieces. If you run it over with the machine, then you just put in a mender. Or there's also a bigger mender over there. If you puncture the big line.
Electrical tape there.
Yeah, electrical tape works great for small leaks, and you can do it even with water going. If you're fast, you can wrap on that, and that'll seal it up. When it gets bigger, it's more of a gusher, then we have to cut it and splice that in. That one has a valve, which we just ran out of the standard ones, but we used to do beds where we would plant half a bed of radishes and seed the whole thing, and we would only put water to the first half, and then we'd turn those valves the next week, so we'd have a week difference between those, which works pretty well. But now we're turning through stuff quick enough that it's not really necessary. But
I've experimented with that too. I find, generally speaking, it's better to think in bed units and just turn entire beds.
Well, and also in Canada, other places where it's going to rain, then you're not going to really do it.
Drip tape. It's really critical. I guess we're going to talk about irrigation, but
no, it's good to talk about
this
that right now.
So this brand has a white stripe, but they don't always have a white stripe. Sometimes it's just the seam. You can feel like that seam where it is sealed up. That seam or stripe is always up. And then if you look at these, you'll see the little slits where the water comes out. So
it's kind of counterintuitive. I think most of us would think that you want the holes down, right, where it goes in the ground, but actually you want them up because we want the water to fill and then roll up and roll over, and that's going to help if there's any debris or sediment in your line. It's not going to clog those holes as easy because it's going to settle at the bottom of the lines, and only clean water is going to go up. So these, you want a relatively straight cut, but these are just like a friction lock. So you back off this screw. There's a little, the connector has a barb, and you're just going to work that over, slide it all the way on, and then you just start to back this over, and it's going to thread over and then basically pinch that line on. It doesn't take a lot of pressure, but you want to hold it in place because you don't want this to spin on you. So what I end up doing is shifting this over to like 2 o'clock and get this until it's like hand tight, and then I hold it and I know it's going to turn, and I'm going to turn that last turn, and then it goes to 12 o'clock. Okay, and that's nice secure line. So